So how much were you aware as you went into part 2 where you were going to go? Did you, and no, actually, when you were making part 1, how much were you aware where part 2 was going to go later on?
Well, entirely aware, because when I wrote part 1, I also wrote part 2, and the intention was to shoot them back to back, but I couldn't raise enough money to do that all in one go. So there was, yes, we shot part 1 a couple of years ago, so sort of 2 years between the 2 shoots. Yeah, I mostly wanted to shoot the second one at the same time, because I thought, well, if part 1 comes out and there's a reaction to it, and then I have to make part 2, that might destabilise me in a way. And fortunately, well, here, obviously, I've now shot part 2 and part 1 hasn't come out here, but it did come out in the States before I started shooting part 2, and I made the decision not to read anything, not even to hear anybody's response, because I thought, well, even if someone says something positive, it doesn't matter if it was good or bad, they might say, oh, we really like that character in part 1, and then I think, I might just feature that character a bit more in part 2. I just didn't want to be thinking those sorts of things. Yeah. I wanted to be just as free as I was with part 1.
So for anyone who's not aware of sort of your process and how you go about making films, do you want to explain a little bit about how you do that? I sort of feel like I've got the measure of it, but would you like to talk about how you like to approach films?
I'll try and do it as succinctly as possible. I don't write a conventional script, and a conventional script, as I see it, is one where you write all the dialogue. It looks a bit like a play, I think, and there's visual description, but there's also a lot of dialogue. And I don't do that. I write the descriptive part, but I don't write the dialogue, or I'll write a suggestion of dialogue, just like you'll get in a novel. And the reason, and then it's about 30 pages long, and it has photographs in it as well. And the reason I do that is because I don't want to be burdened with a great big sort of 100-page thing to carry around. I want to be free to look around, and I want it short enough that I can almost memorize it, so I never have to look at a bit of paper when I'm shooting. So that's really nice not to have that, and then also I'm not filling in every moment, because I'm writing as I go along, and when I say I'm writing as I go along, I am literally writing extra scenes, but I'm in a sense writing with the camera as I shoot, because I'm coming up with new ideas, I'm changing the storyline, and we shoot in story order, which means I have total freedom to twist and turn the story, and I might notice something that someone's doing, an actor's doing, and then I've got the freedom to be able to change how that character develops. I mean, for example, in part 2, without giving anything away, there's a character who is a certain way at the beginning of the story, and he's not one of the main characters, but he's important enough, and I was aware that I didn't feel there was enough development in where his character was going, so I made some quite substantial changes to what happened to him in the story. So it's that kind of thing that story order, shooting in story order, allows me to do.
And in terms of working with actors, you often, in everything that you've done, there's been a mixture of actors and non-actors, and in a way that's quite an unusual thing, because often, I mean, Ken Loach has worked with actors and non-actors, but he really likes to find non-actors as much as possible. But it seems like you're not against actors, but there's something, which I'm quite pleased about, but but there's something, yeah, I just wondered about that combination and what it is that the actors coming to the situation need to bring that is almost equivalent to someone who's not an actor.
Yes, I mean, in a way, I don't want the actor to bring very much. I want them to be open to what happens in the moment of shooting a scene, because the non-actor doesn't have any plan of what they're going to do or how they do it. So it's just having an openness, and I sometimes find that the combination of having an actor and a non-actor in the same scene is that the actor is almost learning something from the ability, the freedom the non-actor has to not have a style or have a method, that they're open, they're listening to what's being said, because what's being said isn't scripted. So there's, yes, it's a very different thing. But then with the Souvenir, the film that you've just seen, I very consciously cast Tom Burke, who's an actor, as the character of Anthony, because Anthony is, in a sense, an actor.
Yeah.
So that was entirely appropriate. So I wanted him to come with all of that ability to shapeshift and change, and for us to not know whether to believe him or not. He needed to plan what he was going to do, and I cast him very early on in the process. So I had months of meeting him very regularly, where I would give him things to research and show him documents and letters and photographs about the real man on whom Anthony's based. So he did a lot of preparation, but with Honor it was the complete polar opposite, because she'd never been in front of a camera, never been in a film before, didn't know how to be in front of the camera in a sense, and she didn't have anything. I also cast her very late, just a few weeks before we started shooting, but she didn't know what the story was. She didn't know from scene to scene what was going to happen next. So she was entirely, they were both equally brave in their different ways in terms of plunging into the film.
So is it something, because Joanna went to the National Film and Television School, which is obviously in the film. I also went to the National Film and Television School, so when I watched it, it was like, that's my tutor. I know those tutors. And so some of the tutors in it are the head of documentary at the National Film and Television School, and that strikes me to do with something about the presence that people bring. That it's always something about presence. So an actor, I can't describe it well enough. I think we talked about it. It's something about actors, as long as that presence suits what they're playing. But then maybe an actor playing a teacher, it's better just to get a teacher.
Yes, and also because I'm not writing the dialogue, then an actor would need to know exactly what they were going to say, unless they were an expert in cinema. So I'm tending to cast non-actors in roles that they understand, that they deeply understand.
Yeah.
So I'll cast a painter to play a painter.
Yeah. A pheasant plucker, because one of my favourite scenes in Archipelago is the guy when he brings the pheasant and explains to the cook about how to pluck the pheasant. I was like, that's not an actor.
No.
The authority was just so. So something I wanted to talk to you about, when you look at all of your work together and then read all the reviews, which hopefully you don't often do, but you read about people writing about you, they nearly always talk about you commenting on the middle classes, and it struck me, like, I think Ken Loach wants to be the filmmaker who makes films for the working classes, but I was like, do you want to be someone who's making films about and for a certain class?
No, and I don't think I'm doing that.
No.
I think it's a construct, and in fact I've been thinking about it a lot in the last couple of days, because I've had to talk about the film quite a bit, and it definitely feels like it's a box I'm being put in, and that actually it's not what my films are about. It's maybe sometimes the setting for the film, but it's not the subject of the film. I don't know. I'd be interested to know what other people here think. Whether that's the case, but it's not. I'm not interested in that.
Yeah, so it's not. You're not going, oh, I must comment on the middle classes now or the upper middle classes now. No, it's not. And it doesn't come up interestingly. Well, not unsurprisingly, in other countries when I present the films. Right.
It's only here. It's our obsession
We're
here.
obsessed.
But it's not my personal obsession.
Yeah.